Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, A Guide to Resilient Supply Chains, Best Practices in Turbulent Times and Their Impact on the Payments Landscape, presented by Netstock and Fortis. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some housekeeping items. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, throughout the webinar, you can submit any questions you have. If you'd like to submit a question, look for the questions section in your GoToWebinar, and we will answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. We're also recording this presentation, and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees, as well as those who are registered but unable to attend. You'll receive the recording of the webinar in the afternoon. Finally, we would appreciate your participation in our closing poll during the Q&A. With that said, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to attend this webinar. We're especially excited for today's presentation because we are joined by two of our partners, Netstock and Fortis. So this is a rare event for us. Netstock enhances your ERP data to ensure your supply chain is always market ready, and Fortis enables you to process payments within your ERP. By combining these two solutions, you can achieve higher levels of financial performance and maintain supply chain resilience in uncertain times. So whether you're here specifically researching a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions you have. And lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel where we post our recorded webinars and more content. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Barry with Netstock to get us started.
Good day, and thank you very much for that introduction, Courtney. So my name is Barry Cook. I'm one of the co-founders of Netstock. I'm specifically the technical co-founder. So I am responsible for the product and the direction that the product goes into. So today, the agenda for today is going to be who are we? What does Netstock do, and why are we, why do we exist? What is the state of the supply chain worldwide right now? We're going to look at some tools to stay competitive. I'm not going to show a live demo. There is some slides in the deck, but I'll talk about how Netstock aims to solve a lot of these problems. And then after the Fortis chat, we will do some Q&A. So looking at Netstock, who are we? So the founders have been involved in inventory management and optimization for at least 30 years. But in 2010, we, after kind of working in different places, we got together and we looked at ourselves and we looked at the market and we realized that there literally are thousands and thousands of SMBs around the world who have the exact same problem as the enterprise customers that we used to serve in our past in terms of inventory. But they cannot afford that enterprise type solution. If you think about a small company that's got $2 million of inventory in their warehouse or $1 million, you can't go and sell them a $500,000 piece of software and another $500,000 worth of consulting to solve their problem. But luckily, in that kind of time frame, 2010, three things kind of came together that allowed us to serve this market. So the first one was software as a service becoming a lot more acceptable as a business model, and we found that our customers really readily accepted that as a way to do business. Secondly, the cloud became something that people trusted, and people were less worried about putting their data into the cloud. And the third thing that happened is that browsers became powerful enough for us to deliver software via the browser. And so Netstock was born, and we took all of the sophistication that we had in those enterprise solutions in our past lives and try to put it into a much more user-friendly piece of software to really help the SMB market. Because if you think about it, the the big guys all have a lot of big data they can work with. They've got all these data scientists, and they have an unfair advantage in the market. And the SMB type people do not have that advantage, and they don't know how to use all of the data that they have in the ERP systems, for example, to also compete in the market. And that is really our goal, is to help the SMBs also compete. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a world where there's only Amazon and Walmart, right? I want to live in a world where there's a diverse ecosystem of vendors that we all can make use of. And that is really why Netstock was born. So looking at the supply chain, really in the last kind of 2 years, maybe a little bit more since the pandemic, supply chains have been all over the show. It's been disrupted left, right, center, up, down. I think if you've been a supply chain manager for the last 2 years, you probably you're tearing your hair out because things have been so tough for you. So what happened is, a few years ago when the pandemic started really taking off and lockdowns started happening, the first thing we saw was lead times became longer and stockouts happened, right? So because of the lockdowns, especially the very hard lockdowns in China, lead times took a lot longer, and it almost overnight became a problem. We've had customers where they told us that they've had lead times go from 90 days ordering from China, go up to a year. In a time span of about 3 months, that lead time changed from 90 days to 360 days. And what that resulted in was stockouts. So stockouts happened, A, because the orders we placed just was not arriving, and B, on the other side, people were panic buying. I'm sure we all remember the big trolleys of toilet paper being taken out of Costco and so on. So it was really tough, and we didn't know how we're gonna improve this. And so what happened is, some costs were rising very quickly because simple supply and demand, our customers started looking at this and going, whatever I can get, I'm going to buy. And so they just kept on building stock in their warehouses because they were so scarred from that long time where you just couldn't get in the inventory, that they just overstocked. And then, as if that was not enough, when things finally started getting better, lead time started coming down, shipping lanes started opening, apart from a little blip there in the Suez Canal, the world started going into this recession or recessionary environment. And that really meant two things. A, there was more inflation, and B, the cost of money, interest rates started going up. And what that meant was that a lot of the demand suddenly started diminishing. So now we had this double whammy where not only did they overorder and they have too much excess inventory in their warehouses, but now there's no demand and no one's buying the stuff, and now we have another problem. So we kind of, the pendulum swung from the very extreme on the one end to the very extreme on the other end. And I don't think it's even to today, it has not completely come back to where it should be. And then on top of that, we have all these labor shortages. So what happened there is, we all heard of the big resignation or the big migration of workers, and with stimulus packages and so on around the world, a lot of these blue collar workers looked at this and said, listen, it's probably worth my while to stay home and just get the check from the government than actually working. And so now we have labor shortages for people like truck drivers and warehouse managers and that kind of stuff. So if you're sitting in the center and it's your job to make sure that your supply chain is working, I really do feel for you. Life has been pretty tough in the last 2 years, and like I said, I don't think it's much better but it is slowly starting to look a little bit better. So if we look at what are the challenges faced by these very brave people working in supply chain right now, and especially in inventory, is the stockouts. So the stockouts are still a problem. One of the biggest problems is that people have too little of the stuff that do sell, even though they have a warehouse of excess inventory. So the second line is, so you have stockouts, but yet you still have excess. And that is really comes to the crux of, what Netstock does. If you look at the problem of how can I have too much and too little at the same time, that's the problem here. And then trying to place your orders on your vendors or your suppliers takes a lot of time, and it's very difficult to forecast. So those are the challenges today. And how can we look at these challenges and how to solve them? So if you look at what we're working with, is if you really think about it, we're really looking at analog tools to compete in this dynamic data-driven world and constantly playing catch up. Your sales team, you give them this tool, we call it Salesforce or a CRM, and that's where they do their work. Your finance team gets an accounting package on an ERP, that's where they work. Your marketing team gets a marketing automation system like a HubSpot or Marketo or something like that, and that's where they work. But the supply chain people, what do we give them? We give them Excel. And that's what I mean when I say analog tools to compete in this dynamic world. Because remember, this dynamic world is an Amazon that's got 1,000 data scientists just looking every single day how to optimize everything in their world. And you want to compete with one person with a spreadsheet. It's just not fair. So if we look at what do you need? So you obviously need your ERP system. Your ERP system is the system of record. And if your ERP system is well implemented, like we find most of our SWK customers, their ERP system is well implemented, and you can go into a report on the ERP and say, how many of this widget have I got in warehouse A in bin C? And the system will come up immediately and say, you have 75 of those widgets. And I can bet you, if you walk to that warehouse, go to bin C, open up, count those widgets, there'll be 75. That is the kind of the table stakes that we're working on. The problem is that the question is, how much should there be? So we know there's 75, and that's all good, but maybe there should actually be 200, or maybe there should be 10. How do we know how many there should be? And this is where Netstock comes in. So it's got all of this automation built in to help you to do those purchase orders on your suppliers. We do all of the sophisticated analytics to give you the visibility in your supply chain. And then what we do is we give you these insights in these dashboards, which are very prescriptive. And the reason they said prescriptive is because they have all of the best practices built in. So if you do, you follow the prompts on the warehouse, on the dashboard, you will get a good result in your inventory and your decision making. So looking at, why Netstock? So let's start on the right-hand side of the slide where we can say, okay, so life without Netstock is you are reacting to your supply and demand volatility. Like I just explained to you, suddenly lead times are longer and you never knew this was going to happen, or you never saw it coming, and now you're trying to react, and that's very difficult to do after the fact. You have a lot of working capital tied up in inventory. If you have a bunch of stuff sitting in your warehouse that doesn't sell, in other words, you bought stuff that there is no more demand for at the moment, that is working capital sitting there. And especially in this day and age where, like I said, the cost of capital is a lot higher because interest rates have been going up and up and up. If you could untie that working capital, you can actually use that to build your business. But without knowing how to do that or which items you can start getting rid of, it's very difficult. But at the same time, like I said, you also have stockouts, and stockouts is as bad as working capital tied in inventory, because you can't make the sales. And in some ways, it's actually worse, because you might be stocked out of a single specific product, but your customer is coming to buy a basket of products where that thing that's stocked out is just one of the things in that basket. And sometimes what we see with our customers is they don't just lose the sale of that one widget, they lose the whole basket, and the customer goes somewhere else. And sometimes you lose the whole customer because they go somewhere else and they go, well, I get my basket of goods here anyway, so why should I go back? So you might be stocked out of a small $20 item, but now you lose a customer for life. So, lower sales because of stock outs is really a big problem. And like I said, your ERP is great at telling you what happened. You can pull up a report, you can go into your dashboard, and you can see this is what happened. But looking backwards isn't necessarily the best way to plan forwards. So what we're saying is, when you get Netstock, so what will help you with is supply and demand planning, because the one cannot function without the other. I cannot plan my supply to my customers, from my suppliers, if I don't know the demands from my customers. And if I can't model that relationship well, we get the problems that's on the right-hand side. We give you the ability to model different inventory policies. It's very easy to say, hey, I want to have a 100% service level to my customers. But that means that you have to, might have to carry far more inventory than you can afford right now. So if we can model different policies and say, okay, I can only afford this much, what is the optimal service level I can give to my customers? That is power in your hand, where you can make decisions that will actually make your business, grow faster with the same amount of capital investment. How do we get those inventory policies into action? The easiest way to do that is, every time you place a purchase order on one of your vendors, we place the correct order, and that correct order should take into account everything in terms of my policies that I've set at a higher level. And then what we want to do is we want to track that performance against our target. So we've got the policy, we've got the target, we want to achieve a 97% fill rate, or we want to reduce our inventory by $1 million, or we want to increase our stock turns from 3 turns per year to 6 turns per year. So you got those targets, and now we can look over time, are we getting to those targets? And then the real powerful thing with Netstock is that you can start projecting what your stock and inventory levels are going to be in the future. And with that information, you can then start projecting what purchase orders I'm going to place on a supplier, and then you can start having an intelligent conversation with your supplier to start negotiating terms and so on. So, Netstock really helps you with all of those things. So how do we do that? If we can just go to the next slide. What we want to do is we want to really level the playing field. Like I said, I don't want to live in this world where there's only these big guys with the deep pockets that compete, but I want everyone to compete. So, what we're trying to achieve is giving predictability to your business in this era where everything seems to be changing at the same time. We want to give that in a simplistic way, or a very simple interface, but still have all of the power of all of the analytics tools that those big customers have. And then we want to give you those prescriptive insights in real time. It's no good saying what happened last quarter. It's much better to say what's happening today and what's going to happen tomorrow, so that I can act before it happens. That will allow you to capture loyalty and profit potentials. So, one of the best ways to create loyalty with your customers is by always having the stuff that they need when they need it, and not more, not less. Save some capital, and what we generally see is that our customers, when they start untying that or releasing that capital from the inventory, they reuse that capital to now grow their business. The CEO has been sitting there for years and years and years with his dreams of growing the business, but being very constrained in terms of what working capital is available to achieve those dreams. And what Netstock allows you is to say, right, here we can unlock some of that working capital to realize those dreams. And of course, future-proofing your business, because if you have far better predictions of what's coming, in the short and medium term, you can make plans today to help you with that. So that's really how we want to try and level the playing field. So what I want to show you now is just some of the ways that Netstock does that. So what's on the screen right now is really the dashboard that we start off. As soon as you log in, every day you get this dashboard, and we look at, if you look at this, the top level of this of the screen, we've got the stock holding, how much is in excess, and any surplus orders you've placed. So generally you want to say, right, I've got in this example $10.3 million of inventory. We should be on 4.7 because the model, based on your policy inputs, says that you should have this much. And the question is always, why is there such a big difference? Well, you've got $3.6 million of excess inventory, and that is that inventory that I was talking about sitting in a warehouse, not doing anything. You're not selling them, and that is working capital tied up there. But if you look at the top right-hand corner, there's a measure called surplus orders. And what is a surplus order? That's an order that you placed on your customer, and when that inventory arrives in your warehouse, it's going to push you into excess. So if you think about it carefully, what you're doing is you're taking perfectly good working capital, turning into inventory and storing it. The worst way, the worst thing you can do with your working capital is just store it there without it working for you. So that's like an early warning system telling you you've placed these orders. Let's see if we can, still affect them before they arrive. You might be able to cancel the order, delay the order, that kind of thing. The second row is all about the fill rate. So how well are we servicing our customers? So currently in this example, we're achieving 86% fill rate. We're targeting 94%. And again, the question is why, are we so low compared to the target? And again, we've got, a lot of items that are stocked out right now, and we have demand for them. So customers are ordering this stock, but we have zero on hand, and we're losing sales. $658,000 of sales lost today because we've run out. And again, on the right-hand side, we've got this early warning system, which is a potential stock out. So a potential stock out is an item where you have enough on hand right now, or you have some on hand right now, but before the next order arrives in your warehouse, there's going to be a time frame where you are stocked out. And in that time frame between the stock out and when the next inventory arrives, you're going to be losing sales. So once again, early warning system. It hasn't happened yet, but it can happen and it will happen. Let's do something about that. So if we look at the next screen, this is all about that order. So like I said, it's all good and well doing all your forecasting into the future, understanding which items are important, setting the stocking policy in terms of your service levels and your replenishment cycles and so on. But how do you actually action that? And that is, placing those orders on your vendors. And what Netstock does is it says, you can choose a vendor you want to place an order on, and within 2 seconds, it comes up with this perfect order that will drive your inventory towards those inventory policies. And now it's very easy for the procurement manager to look at this order. Every line is an item that you need to order, and all of the information you need as a procurement manager is on that line. Now, all you have to do is go and verify every single line. Yes, that's right, that's right. Maybe that's a bit low. Let's add to that, or that's too much. I'm never going to sell these things. Amend the order, click on download, and that recommendation then goes straight into your ERP and becomes a purchase order, which is, eliminates recapturing, and that perfect order goes straight into your ERP. And now your ERP, like I said, which is really good at those transactions, will process that purchase order as a transaction. Right, so how do we know? Next screen, what we look at there is inventory classification. Not all inventory items are created the same. This is very important to understand. I'm sure everyone knows the ABC classification. What we've done in Netstock is we've done the ABC. You can see it on the left-hand side there. But across, we've also then cross-referenced that with the velocity of the item. How quickly does it move? So, not only are your A items most important because they make the most profit, but sometimes the high velocity items that move quickly are also important, but they might be Cs. So what we do is we put this into this classification matrix so that it's easy to understand. And clearly, if you look at the items that are in the green blocks, the A highs, the A mediums, the B highs, these are the bread and butter for your business. And everywhere in Netstock where you see a listing for items, or a dashboard with the top 5 items and so on, we tell you where on this matrix that item lies. Because, for example, if you are stocked out and it's in the green block, this is an emergency. You have to do something about that today. But if you may have placed a surplus order on an item that's in the green block. Well, we know it's a high velocity item and it does sell very quickly. So maybe it's not so bad to let that order come in, because we know that we're going to sell it anyway. So you get that insight into every item throughout the system. The next thing that we look at is we look at risks. So, where are the risks in your business? It's supply risk and forecast risk. Can my suppliers deliver what I'm ordering? And am I able to forecast what my customers are going to, buy from me? And to mitigate against those risks, because you can never get that perfect, right? But to mitigate against those risks, we have to, keep some safety stocks in the warehouse. And so what we do is we measure those risks continually on a daily basis, and we adjust all the safety stocks in your item for every item to get you to that stocking policy that you want. On screen is just an example of how we measure that supply risk. So, does this work? If you look at, some of our customers' testimonials, Netstock may not be able to clear the Suez Canal. I wish we could, but no, we can't. Or reopen closed ports to provide high shipping capacity. But, thanks to Netstock, we can anticipate the logistical impact of incomprehensible year and activate the plan B early enough. And I think that's the important thing. It's early enough. Netstock gives you that insight of what's already happening. When we start measuring those deliveries from your supplier and we start seeing lead times are creeping up, early enough we can start making other plans. So this person said that she couldn't even imagine how they could have gotten through this year without Netstock. And this is true from for a lot of our customers. So yeah, if you would like to get in touch, we'll talk about contact information later. But with having said all of this, I'm going to give it over to the Fortis team now to talk about the rest of how payments can also help in these times. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. That was great so far. So like you said, we've talked a little bit about resiliency of supply chains and how Netstock can help you handle that in turbulent times. And we're going to pass it over to Rob now to talk a little bit about the payments landscape.
Well, thank you, Courtney, and thank you, Barry. That was some really good information. Thank you. So real quickly, I'm with Fortis. We are an integrated payment provider for the Sage line of ERP, and I'll be going over a quick demo with you. I'm sorry, a quick webinar with you to show you about Fortis. The agenda, talk about the supported solutions for Sage, give you a real quick overview of who Fortis is, some payment processing challenges we've seen, and then the features of our gateway. We own our own gateway. I'll give you some aha moments to proceed with caution as you look at a provider, and go over our ERP experience team and Fortis guides. So these are the supported solutions for Sage: e-commerce, mail order, mobile, accounts receivable for all the Sage, the 100s, 300s, 500, X3, and Sage Intacct as well. And who is Fortis? We are a rapidly growing team of payment industry experts, very familiar with your market or vertical. This slide we should update because although we've been in business for more than 20 years, we're approaching 300 employees and close to 350 agents and partners, closer to 60,000 merchants, and billions and billions in transactions. Once again, full payment processor integrated with the whole line of Sage. So I mentioned earlier that we own our own gateway. The benefits of owning your own gateway are many. One of them being is the payment industry changes we can adapt on the fly. So, we do credit, debit, manual entry, so you can actually swipe into your ERP for walk-up business or retail business. We work in Canada. Their version of ACH is called EFT. All of our products have quick invoicing or click to pay, where you can send an email to your customers from Sage. The customer can click on the invoice and pay you directly, and that information is automatically updated in your Sage ERP. All these products come with a customer portal. So benefit of this, a lot of people don't like to have their customers' credit card information, so you can give your customer their own portal where they can go in and make payments via ACH or credit card. They can see any outstanding invoices and make payments. The capability to text to pay, that's not with Sage right now, but being built, and the benefit of surcharging and cash discounting, where you can charge a percentage for the ability for your customers to pay. We offer hosted payments options where a customer can go on your website and make a payment. We're with all the trendy Apple Pay, Google Pays, 3D Secure, and coming soon, the whole buy now, pay later, and crypto. So here's some of the proceed with cautions. I apologize, it's small print, but these are actual contracts from other ERP processors and are examples of some situations the customers have been affected by. So the first one, it's the term of the agreement, and some of you probably can't read this, but it's saying, the initial term is 3 years. That's pretty basic. But then if you don't opt out, you're stuck for continual 3 more years. So they're basically locking you in a long-term contract with penalties if you decide to leave. The number 5 here is pretty much you're giving, and once again, these are actual contracts. You're giving pretty much all your rights away. The last line we highlighted in yellow says merchant waives any and all claims for losses or damages. It's very one-sided for the processor. And then number 9, a security interest. I won't go over the wording, but it's basically saying you're letting the bank get into your checking account. So if something goes wrong, they can go and get their money. Another proceed with caution is the indemnification versus mutual indemnification. Sorry. It's pretty much giving away all your rights. The bank or the processor has rights over you. And once again, these are actual. We didn't make these up. Proceed with caution number 3, contractual obligations. This is something new and yeah, I'm just reading it here. So basically, it's saying that if you change the amount that is being you're processing, it will cost you and let's, if I could just
Let me
skip this.
let me jump in here,
Thanks.
Rob.
Thanks, Maya. Sorry, I missed
Yeah,
that one.
no worries. So the exclusivity part of this means that if you process with more than one processor, your volume will go down by a certain amount. And what happens there is if it goes down by more than 50% as an average over your last 12 months, you get hit with a penalty. In this case, it's called liquidated damages. And so what happens is they take the amount that you've made the company, i.e. the processor, and they will times that amount by the remaining months on the contract. So say you signed up for that 36-month agreement, you have, say you've done 12 months of that 36-month agreement, you have 24 months left. If you've made the processor, say $400 a month in revenue, then you owe the additional 24 months times the $400 that you made them, which again, it comes out to be a pretty big number. If you're not, versed at looking at these, you probably do want to have a legal professional look at that term agreement that you are signing up for. One thing to note is that we always do month-to-month agreements. We never do that long-term contract. We figure if we are doing our job the way that we should be, you'll be a long-term customer. And we do have legal professionals on staff if you want them to look at the agreement that you have or that you've been presented.
Thank you.
So here's one. Let me jump in here too, Rob. I'll let you take the next one.
Sure.
So this is a new one as well. We actually found this recently, and basically what it is it's surcharging on the processing volume. So there are two things here. When you sign up for a merchant services agreement, if you state that you are going to do, for round numbers, 100,000 a month in stated volume, and you process $300,000 a month, which equates to 400 times above the stated volume, you'll be charged $25 for each additional 500 over that stated amount. So if you see the math down below, 25 times 400 equals 4,800. It's just one of those things that's in the fine print, and you want to always be cautious when you're looking at this. There's always fine print, so you do want to work with somebody that you know and trust.
Oh, okay, I'll take this one. Thank you, Maya. So the big buzzword out there nowadays is what's called level 2 and 3 processing, where in Visa and MasterCard, there are 700 types of cards, and the way you accept them determines what your costs are. So if you accept a card that's a corporate card, let's say it's the normal cost is 2.7. If you do level 2 and 3 processing, which is just passing more information to the card brands, you can get that number down to 1.9. We pass that information along. It's called level 2 and 3 processing. Our gateway does what's called optimizes it. So it passes that information. There's nothing you need to do on your end. It passes that information and qualifies you for that 1.9% instead of the 2.7. The reason for this slide is a lot of processors grossly overstate what that savings is. In this example, once again, small print, it's saying you did 693 transactions and 602 of those qualified. In this case, that's a grossly overstated number, 602. And even ours, which is one of the best optimized, you'll qualify for about 75%, where they're closer to 90%. So always be cautious of unrealistic claims. If you get a quote, we'd love to look at it, see if we can offer you greater savings, or point out, hey, go back to that processor and have them explain where you came up with 602. So great way, quick return on your investment for working with Netstock. Use Fortis as your payment processor, and we guarantee we will save you money, and those funds can be used for upgrades and third-party business solutions like Netstock that will benefit your company. So we consider ourselves a payments consultant because if we can't give you the solution, we can guide you to the people that can. We are the heart of it. We have a heart of a teacher. We will educate you. We are a neutral party. We'll help your company find efficiencies, savings, and those gotchas that we previously showed you, and offer multiple options for you. So one of the real benefits of working with Fortis, we have a team called the ERP experience team. Anybody that calls an 800 number trying to get some help and is on hold or in a call queue, our payments team are knowledgeable ERP experts, and you can go onto a booking tool at any time and book them for assistance. The one that's really popular, and anybody that's ever had to deal with PCI compliance, it can take you days, weeks to complete. Where our team, if you book a time with our team, we can walk you through the process. We can't do it for you because that would do away with the security of PCI, but we can make a 10-minute experience instead of a 2-week experience. And once again, you would have access to their calendar. And that's not just for PCI, but it's for demo support and any other questions you have related to your ERP. So we're so confident, as I mentioned, that we will save your money, that if we cannot, we will pay for 10 hours of consulting work from SWK. So all you need to do is work with your account manager, send some recent statements. We'll do a proposal, show the savings, and if we cannot save you money, we're writing a check to SWK. Haven't done it yet, but we will.
Thank you, Robert. We love that. That's a lot of confidence from Fortis right there on their solution. So thank you both. We sort of, wrapped up tight there at the end with Roberts, but I'd like to thank both of our presenters, Barry, Rob, Maya, for jumping in there, for really, leading us through 2 great presentations to create a fuller picture. This is a unique one for us to have both teams here to really show you how, using 2 different solutions can really enhance your ERP and give you a fuller picture to both set you up in a better position for the payments landscape and also with your inventory and supply, which has been, a huge thing over the past few years that everyone's been affected by. So thank you all. And now we're going to open it up for the Q&A portion of the webinar. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the questions section of your GoToWebinar. And then before we, get into those questions and while you're entering those in, we would really appreciate your participation in our poll very quickly. So we just want to know if you want to be contacted with any more information. So if yes, you'd like to see a demo of the product, you want to, just get some more information, you don't want to talk, but you'd like to, some materials to learn more if that's a solution that you think can help your business. So thank you for everyone who's answered so far. And as we, get the rest of those in, we're going to close the poll shortly. And I'm going to close the poll now. So now we're going to move on to our Q&A portion. So I think our first question is going to be for you, Barry. So just a question about, how would we get started with Netstock and what does that implementation look like? I think is the gist of their question.
Yeah, absolutely. So, starting with Netstock, we have a very, very structured onboarding process. So we will help you and your team, really get the most out of the system and so that you can get to those inventory goals, that you aspire to. So the first step obviously is connecting Netstock to your ERP. If you go to netstock.com, you'll see there's about 40 different ERPs that we are connected to, that we have pre-built connectors. All of the Sage ones, for example, are pre-built. And what we do there is we install the connector, we connect it to the Netstock cloud, and the data starts flowing through. But then what we will do is we'll help you to fix up some of the data issues that you might have. We will help you to set stocking policies and understand what they mean. And we will then start helping you to understand how to implement those and so on. The Netstock product is also, has got a whole suite around it with learning management systems, so you can do all kinds of learning in your own time, which is really useful. For example, if a new team member joins in a year's time, long after the Netstock's been implemented, they can go into that learning management system and start doing courses and understand, how this whole thing hangs together. And then we have all kinds of in-app videos and tutorials and guided tours. And we have, our support guys on a real-time chat inside the app. So you can go inside the app, click on the chat icon, and talk to a real human being at any time. So so the implementation is really easy. It's generally on the wall calendar. Happens somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks, sometimes 10 weeks, depending on how complex your environment is. But then after that, it's all self-help and self-learning and so on. So easy to get going. If you want to get in contact, we'll have some contact info later, or you can go to our website and then just request a demo or request the contact us, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you, Barry. Our next question is going to be for the Fortis team, so Maya and Rob. We'd like to know, is there a setup cost associated with your solution?
Sure, I'll take that. There is no cost from Fortis for any setup, installation, and support. It's all included. You'd want to talk to your partner if there was any customizations on their end, but our product is out of the box, no cost to you.
Great. And of the same, kind of set of questions, what is the length of a contract with your team?
Sure. Another great question. And Maya mentioned this briefly during his presentation. We have no long-term contracts. We are a month-to-month provider. We will earn your business. We don't want to lock you into something that's not working for you. So month-to-month, no long-term contract.
Okay, that's great to hear. Well, as we wrap up, right here at the end, we had those few questions. So if you still have a question you want to submit, you have a few moments to do so. And if not, we really want to thank everyone for being with us today. I'd like to thank both Fortis and Netstock for presenting with us today, testing out this unique combined webinar that we're doing. And as Barry mentioned, we do have contact follow-up. So if you want to learn more about these solutions, you can talk to your account manager. You can contact us at info@swktech.com, webinars@swktech.com, and we will connect you with the Fortis and Netstock team and make sure we get you the information you need, and you can really see what these products can do for you and your company. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up for the day, and thank you for everyone for attending, and thank you to our presenters.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good day.